Okay. So after finish, this is budget line, right? This is the budget line. And here the slope, okay, the slope, sorry. The slope means a relative price between X and Y, okay? So this is one part. This part comes from the market, okay? Market tells the consumer how much is X and how much is Y, okay? What's the price you have to pay? But then we talk about indifference curve here, right? Here is the subjective value of the consumer, okay? How important in his mind is X, or how important it is in his mind of Y. And so we talk about price effect, right? Because if some price goes up, okay? So for example, if gasoline price goes up, probably you want to try electric car, right? Because if gasoline becomes more and more expensive, you want to substitute something that is cheaper. Or let us say beef. If beef is more expensive, right? What you do? You try to eat something that is cheaper, chicken or pork, okay, or fish. And so if something becomes more expensive, because you suppose you consume the same amount, okay? If something is more expensive, what does that mean? That means there's less money in your pocket, right? So that's the income effect, okay? And everyone, we know that, market is dynamic, and people, the same thing, right? If something becomes more expensive, you try to consume less of it and consume something that is cheaper. So that is substitution effect, okay? So, and how are we going to tell with all these changes with the diagram here, okay? And so we have the slope of the budget line, and here is the slope of the indifference curve, okay? So, as we say slope, what is slope? Slope is equal to rise over run, right? Slope is equal to rise over run. So what is the rise? The rise here is change in y, right? The rise here change in y. What's the run here? It is changes in x, okay? So this is the slope of the indifference curve. Okay, this is the slope of the indifference curve. And here is the slope of the budget line. So we would talk about interior solution. Okay. So let us say we have, remember we are talking about consumer behavior, right? So here is X, here is Y. Here is the budget line. And we can have something like this, okay? This is indifference curve 1, indifference curve 2, indifference curve 3, okay? When it moves up toward northeast, right? Toward northeast, then your satisfaction is higher and higher. But of course, because this is your budget line, right? You can never reach this part. You want it, but sorry, you cannot make it. And for this part, okay? Because in this case, it is not quite efficient because you have not spent all your money. And if you really want to maximize your utility, supposedly you should spend it all. So this is your equilibrium point. But then we want to know how people, consumers, adjust to the price information. So let us say here, right? So at point B and point C, because point A, B, and C, okay, the expenditure is the same, right? Spend all the money. But the satisfaction is different. So let us see how different it is. So here, this one has a special name, okay? We call MRS, marginal rate of substitution. As I have told you, right? Because the price of X changes and the price of Y changes, so supposedly because of that, you're going to change your consumption behavior. Okay? When something is more expensive, you switch to something that is cheaper. And here it is called MRS. It means when you get rid of 1 unit of X, whether you sacrifice it, then how many units of Y you need to get to make your satisfaction the same. So this is called MRS, marginal rate of substitution. So because as you move down, right? So what happened? So this is the slope of indifference curve. As you can tell, right? Here is very high, right? And then it's become flatter, flatter, and flatter. So what does that mean? We say when Px goes up, the budget line becomes steeper, right? So if Px becomes more expensive, the budget line becomes steeper. And of course, you want to switch away from X to consume more Y, okay? And here, we are talking about your indifference curve, okay? So what is this? So when it's very steep, means you like X, okay? When it is steep, it means you like X. When it is flat, it means you like Y, okay? But here is the budget line, okay? I think, let me show you the algebra first, okay? So here is the budget line, the slope of the budget line. Negative Px, Py, and here is the slope of the indifference curve. It is equal to negative MUy, MUx. Mu means marginal utility, okay? Mu marginal utility. So what can you tell here? So it is negative, right? So we get it to positive, and then you have Px, Mux equals, right? You just switch it. So move this down there, right? And move this up there. So you have Mux divided by Px equals Muy divided by Py. So what you get? You get Mu dollar sign. So when a consumer, he gets per dollar marginal utility across X and Y, they are equal, right? So this is the per dollar utility, marginal utility derived from X, and here is the per dollar marginal utility derived from Y. If they are the same, it means they hold equal satisfaction to you. And so at this point, you won't change, okay? So let us try to look at the diagram here. So here, okay, indifference curve is steeper, right? And as we say, when the indifference curve is steeper, the slope is steeper, means you like X, okay? But what about the price? The price is lower, right? It's flattened, okay? So here is very steep. You like X. And the price tells you X is not that expensive. So what would you do? You will move down there, okay? Until you reach A. Here, what tells you? You don't like X because it's flattened, right? You don't like X. And so in this case, what should you do? You should switch X for more Y. So you move up there, okay? So when you move up there, what you get? You get to this point. And at this point, the slope of the budget line is equal to the slope of the indifference curve. It shows that this is the market price, okay? And this is your satisfaction. So when your satisfaction level okay, is equal to the market price, whatever, you don't want to make any change, okay? So this is the way we talk about a consumer maximizes his utility, maximizes his satisfaction. I think I should give you some example here, but you know, it's not quite easy in English. Okay, let me see. Okay. 苏婉珍 not here. Okay. Do you like coffee? No. Anyway. You don't like coffee. 黄秀慧. Do you like tea? Yes? Okay. Let's use tea as example, right? So let us say you like tea, and then we have coffee, right? Coffee. So let us say the price of tea goes up. Okay, the price of tea goes up. So will you still stick to tea? Will you try coffee? No. Okay. Anyway. If it is in Mandarin, it's much easier to give you some more example because let me see. What else? Anyway, I'll give you example next time. Let us discuss the homework, okay? Let's turn to chapter 1. Page 13. Chapter 1, page 13. Okay, 高屋家燕. So let me read the question to you. So consider the following mathematical model of attendance at a national park. Okay? Gao Jiayan, can you tell us what does that mean? What does this question say? So it said n is equal to 10 times t minus 15c minus 20r, right? So n is what? N is what we call a dependent variable. Okay, some people should look for people with books. People with books, raise your hand. There, go there. Okay? Got it? So, what does this question tell you? Okay? So what is T? Temperature. C? So the higher the C, okay? When C is higher, what does that mean? When C is very high, it means it is a cloudy day, right? Okay? So will you go to National Park in a cloudy day? No, okay? And what's R? Rainbow. So when it rains, you go to National Park? No. Okay, so it's a construct a verbal model that conveys precisely the same information. So can you tell us in words what happened here to the equation? What does the equation tell us? You know, this question is just, like to give you some idea about model. So N is attendance, the number of people going to the national park, right? Okay, so when it's hot, people like to get outdoor, right? Okay, when it's sunny day, okay, people go outdoor. So N is equal to 10 times T, so T and N is positively related, okay? The higher the temperature, the more people going out, okay? They don't want to stay home, too hot, right? And go out to enjoy the forest, okay, the sunshine, and some wind, okay? And C means cloudy, right? Cloudy days. When there's more cloud out there, what you do? You don't like it, right? We enjoy the outdoor activity because the weather is good. But when the weather is cloudy, you don't do that, right? And R, rainfall. Of course, when it rains, what you do? You stay home, right? Okay, so basically that's the information in this equation. Okay, questions? Okay, turn to page 2. Okay, it said, state whether each of the following is a Pareto improvement and briefly explain your answer, right? What's Pareto improvement? What's Pareto efficient? Pareto efficiency tells you that no one wants to change, okay? And if you want to change, what happens? Some people may get benefit, but some people will get hurt, okay? This is Pareto efficient. It is a situation no one wants to change. If there's change, okay, if someone gets better off, some other people will get worse off, okay? So that's the situation. So tell us which of the following is Pareto improvement. Pareto improvement means everyone gets better, okay? So, Wu-Pei-Ni, A. What's a marker? Okay? So a marker steals your wallet. So what happened? Is it a Pareto improvement? Why? Because the marker gets better off, but you get worse off, right? You got hurt. 第二题，蔡文慈 B. Question B. 2 children. Okay, what happened? They voluntarily trade baseball cards. What's baseball cards? What's a baseball card? You don't watch baseball games. Anyway. You know, it's a voluntarily. So these two guys, these two kids, they are happy with what they are doing, right? Okay, so it should be Pareto improvement. Okay, question C. Su Wanzhen. Question C. Su Wanzhen. Where is Su Wanzhen? Okay, go ahead. What's tariffs? Su Wanzhen, what is tariff? Tariff is a goods. Sorry, tariff is a tax. Is a tax on goods. Okay, tariff is a goods on tax. So when tax on goods is removed, what would you feel? No idea. Huang Jianxun, raise your hand. So, question C. All tariffs and quota on foreign goods are removed. What happened? Do you feel better or not? Zheng Yihan. Okay. When tariffs and quotas are removed, what would you feel? No idea. Shen Ruofan, go ahead. What's tariff? quota. Okay, so when tariffs and quotas are removed, what would you feel? Quota basically means limit. Okay, quota basically means limit. If there's a limit on the goods you buy, so you cannot consume as much as you like, right? And tariff is a tax, means you have to pay more. Okay? So if you have to pay more with tariff, and you cannot consume as much as you like with quota, and now they are all removed. So how do you feel? The goods gonna become cheaper, right? And the quantity supply gonna be more. So you should be Pareto improvement, okay? Question D, 邱冠明. We talked about rent control before, right? Last week, rent control. So a city enacts a rent control. What happened? Excuse me? Excuse me? Are you sure? Rent control means you control rent, so rent cannot increase. Okay? So this is rent control. So what happened? If there's rent control, it means the price ceiling, right? It has to be lower, right? So we mentioned this. So, for example, right, if the rent at this point is $4,000, that's the example we gave this week, right? $4,000, and now you only have to pay $3,000. So how would you feel? Good. You feel good, but what about landlord? Who's landlord? Yes. How does he feel? He feels bad, right? So some people feel good, some people feel bad. So some people got better off, some people got hurt. So that's not, okay, that's not Pareto improvement, okay?沈若凡, question E. That's exactly the opposite, right?沈若凡, question E. Chen Zishuai. Okay, question E. Is it a Pareto improvement? Yes. So is it a Pareto improvement?
No.
Why not? Yes, exactly. Okay. But in terms of economics, okay, we're going to talk about. So remember, we have positive economics. Okay, we also have normative economics. So, Chen Zishuai. So what's the difference there? Normative economics and positive economics. Positive economics and normative economics. This policy, right? Rent control policy, okay?
Yes.
If we have rent control policy, we know, okay? Landlords, let me give you a picture, right? Okay, so we have housing market, okay? The price of housing is rent, okay? And we have demand, we have supply, okay? So basically, the efficient price is here, rent and housing, right? But somehow governments say we're gonna impose a rent control. So the rent control, a price ceiling, but has to be lower than the equilibrium price, right? Okay? So you have R, okay? And then at this point, you have so few landlords want to offer their house, right? So this is QS, okay? And what about here? Is QD. So for positive economics, we analyze the situation, okay? So we know that if you have rent control, it will be a problem because the market will not be in equilibrium, okay? And for positive economics, it's like that. And for normative, okay, normative, because it comes with interests. So who like it? The renter, student, right? You like it because it's cheaper. But the landlord doesn't like it, okay? And you get rid of this, okay? When you get rid of this, oh, so the market gonna be more efficient, right? But it hurts because, you know, the renters now have to pay a higher price. And of course, the landlord gets a better price for their investment, okay? But then, there's one issue we haven't talked about, okay? So when there's rent control, there's also another issue is called black market. You have to know that with rent control, it doesn't mean the houses are gone. The houses are there, okay? Remember this. Houses are there. The point is just the price is too low. I don't want to let anyone to live in my house, okay? And so, suppose government force me to rent my house to some other people. What can I do? I can discriminate. Discriminate. Discriminate means treat people differently. If some people looks nice, I will give him a chance to rent my house. If some people looks really bad, I will forget about him, kick him out, right? And so this happens in a lot of markets. For example, I learned this trick from my experience in the US, okay? Actually, a motel, right? Motel, everyone knows motel? Motel, the price is the same, right? Not really. If the demand is very high, I can choose a customer. Okay, so for example, I mean this basically is like this: racial discrimination. Okay, so Zheng Yili, what's racial discrimination? Racial discrimination. Wu Dongyan, racial discrimination. Exactly. And so, you know, there are a lot of times, you know, this is very serious in the US, but not in Taiwan, you know, because basically we look the same, right? But, you know, sometimes, okay, sometimes, there are still rooms, but, you know, a person looks dirty or drunk. Will you get him to use your room? No, right? So basically, it's like that. And this happens a lot in France. So, you know, a lot of racial issues, so you know that oftentimes they have demonstration and, you know, the situation is very bad. Okay, let's finish chapter 1. Let's get to chapter 2. Chapter 2. And when we get to chapter 2, I think, so where is it? Page 44, right? So let's talk about the introduce you to the PPT of chapter 2, okay? Sorry. Okay, we briefly go through the PowerPoint of chapter 2. Okay, market demand and determinants of demand. Okay, the price of the good, incomes, and price of related goods. Remember when we have substitute, right? And also complements. Substitute is something to substitute for it, right? So beef and pork, okay? And something that we consume together, okay? Film and camera, and battery and electric cars, gasoline and internal combustion engines, and taste, okay, and expectation. Okay, And for income, we have normal goods, inferior goods, and substitute goods. Okay, two goods. When one price goes up, you